Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with our guns. So with this Halloween event we can obtain 3 different companions. So I'd like to test out each of them, the Splinters, the Skeleton and the Wandering Scarecrow. I'll also throw in Razorwood since you guys have been requesting that I go and test it out. Now I've got them all here ranked up to Mythic and I'll be testing them with my statistics along with 2 Warlord Inspirations and 6 Indomitable Runestones. So in order to get that maximum damage, you'll most likely need those similar stats. Now I will have linked in the description a link to this single target damage sheet here where you can see them all ranked up along with the AoE damage ones as well. So what results did we get for these companions and what testing process did I put them through? Well, I didn't really do anything unusual. The first thing I did was jump to Icewind Dale, Caer Konig. I went to this dummy here because he's all on his lonesome and went and tested out their single target damage. They'll simply go and hit the dummy with full combat advantage, and we can use the advanced combat tracker to see exactly how much damage per second they are dealing, and we use that stat then to scale them off each other. So the overall result we got was this: Splinters, the Skeleton, the Wandering Scarecrow and the Razorwood. The Razorwood doing absolutely garbage there, and that is comparing it against the Pseudo Dragon, which is currently in the number 1 spot there on my single target damage test. And we can see the Wandering Scarecrow and the Splinters, they're doing alright, but still only just over half the amount the top companion can deal. So these are not exactly companions, any of them that I would use in single target damage. So of course we went and also tested out their AoE capabilities, and straight up I can say that the Skeleton and the Wandering Scarecrow are all just single target. They're just going to hit this one dummy. Even if there's loads of targets nearby, they won't be able to hit more. So what we did is we went and jumped over to Dreadring. We got our Splinters or our Razorwood, tried to line them up so they're in between these 2 dummies here, so they'll have the maximum ability to hit all of those dummies if possible. And this is a fair fight then, since this is where I've put all of my companions to test them out. Now if we have the Splinters in the correct position there, you can see it can hit all 3 dummies. We'll be able to do so with full combat advantage. We can do the same with the Razorwood, however unfortunately we can only get him to hit 2 of these dummies with that strike there with his roots. You can see we can actually manage to get a 3rd there, but not consistently as he tends to just want to run around. Anyway, we managed to get him to hit 3 targets, and again we can check our chart here. This was looking with the Razorwood, even hitting 3 targets, still only just over 8,000 encounter DPS, and this is comparing with the Masquerade who's able to hit all 4 dummies, even spaced out so far as they are, and got over 100,000 encounter DPS. Splinters, sure, it's pretty decent there at just over 40,000 encounter DPS, which does put it in a pretty decent spot there at 4th place of the companions that I've tested. Now of course this is just a dummy test, situations will always change, and this is also a DPS check, so it's damage per second. So this is testing continual damage over time. If they do 100,000 hit then, and then 10 seconds later might do that again, and in between they might have garbage damage, they'll still be judged on the damage that they've done over the time average per second, and this is what result we're getting. Splinters in 4th place, just beating the Incompass and the Succubus. But if you want to take this into a dungeon and actually test it, you're absolutely going to find that the Succubus or the Incompass is just going to outperform the Splinters in pretty much every way. The Succubus and Incompass can make it so the targets are more vulnerable and do heavy amounts of damage, whereas the Splinters can just deal damage over time. As we can see, it's pretty neat damage. It does have one pretty big attack power where it sweeps and hits everything. We can see that the Splinters on its maximum hit was about 95,000. So dealing that against all targets around it is not going to compete with the Succubus or the Incompass doing like over 200,000 on each of those targets. Now of course we do have to mention that the Splinters does have a healing power. It can go and sweep the dirt and grime away from battle and basically making you squeaky clean, healing you. Now it can heal you, and we tested that out in the arena in Protector's Enclave, and we had a dummy hit me and we checked out how much healing it could do to me, and we could see that it was continually only healing for 7,279 per tick, and that was only giving an average of over 3,700 encounter heal per second. So in my opinion, that's really not going to be worth a heal, and I'll make a video comparing all of the different heal companions on how much they can heal per second, and we can then check out and see which companions actually worth using as summoned to try and keep people healed, so as a backup healer companion. So overall, there we have our conclusion: single target damage test and our AoE damage test. Of course, it would be even better if I could go and test all of these out by running lots and lots of dungeons and getting lots of data that way, but realistically, all of these companions are not performing like really well, so they're not really worth it to test. Splinters can do bits in AoE, but everything's just going to die so quickly it's not going to be able to keep up with companions like the Masquerade or even the Succumbus or the Incubus at just that burst damage. That's what you ideally need. Damage over time is another story. When you're in a fight where the enemies have tons of hit points and they're all grouped up, sure, that's when you can make the most of this damage over time, and that's when this test does become more accurate in that representation. But realistically, there's not many areas where you have multiple bosses in close proximity to each other. So in conclusion, no, none of those companions are really worth using as summoned. If you really have nothing else, you can pick up the Splinters and run it as your active companion, but in my opinion, it's not really worth upgrading since it's only on that green rarity, which will cost you a lot to get upgraded. You ideally want to just upgrade companions that are on the purple rarity and then upgrade them with your companion tokens. Otherwise, you would just use some Astral Diamonds to upgrade them. So again, I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.